There are countless risks and hurdles and issues that you have in your project, but don't worry, I have you covered because in this video, I'm going to share with you top 5 reasons why projects fail and what you can do about them to make sure that your projects are successful. Scope creep. Every project has scope creep and you need to watch out for this. Now, what is scope creep? Scope creep is when you have uncontrolled changes that happen to your project, whether it's a direct request from a stakeholder or whether you unknowingly, as a project manager, you yourself add some additional things without understanding the full impact to your project. So how do you handle this? Well, first and foremost, you need to really understand your project. And when you understand your project, you also need to understand when people are asking for requests, why are they asking for these requests? That information is going to allow you to make some really good decisions, which leads up to the second thing you have to do. You need to instill a change control process. Now, when I do my coaching calls with my students, this comes up a lot. Adriana, what do I do? I'm being asked to add this to the project from the president of the organization. And I go, no problem. You're going to install the change control that you have in the Slate program. And it's super simple because it's a one-pager. You get clarity, you sit down with that president, and you find out why they want that particular increase or addition to the scope. And then you go through the pros and cons and everything else that's in that template. And then that president is going to say to you, whoa, wait a minute. I thought this was a good idea and it's actually not, because everything that you're now asking me doesn't make sense, because you're going to ask about resource, increased costs, time, budget, all of that stuff. Because when you're being asked to do something, it's not for free. It has an impact to something, and that something is either scope, time, or budget. So you really need to install this concept to really make sure your project is successful. Now, if you want additional information on this, I have a video for you and the link is underneath here. Okay, we're talking about project failure. I want you to grab this. Top 10 mistakes new project managers make that you need to be aware of. How can you get it? Well, the link is under this video. Not being proactive in your planning and your monitoring. Okay, if you've been watching my videos at all, you know I talk about planning. What do you need to do when you have a project? You need to plan it out. Why? Because you need to be proactive. Okay, so this is a very common mistake new project managers make, and we need to make sure that you don't do that. You have to do your initial planning. You need to get an idea and insight as to what is going on, because you're the leader, you're the guide in the jungle, and you're taking your machete and you're bringing everyone through so they have a super clear path and you're leading. So you need to make sure that you plan things out. But it's not just about planning, it's also about monitoring, because the last thing you want to do is, a plan is only as good as the amount of effort you put into it and then you execute it. Now you have to monitor that plan, because things are going to come up. You're going to have things that you didn't plan or that have changed or new things that popped up. So you have to monitor, and you don't want to be firefighting. So part of that planning and your monitoring is understanding some contingencies, and do you have to put anything else in place? So it really becomes important that you not only do your planning, but you really focus on monitoring and you tie them all back together so that you can minimize your firefighting. Lack of standardization. I can't tell you how many projects I've seen fail because there's a lack of standardization in regards to the execution of the project. I'll even take that one step further. I see a lot of companies who don't do well in projects overall because they have a lack of standardization. So why is standardization so important in projects? Because you want to minimize confusion, and you want to be very clear to your team members, your subject matter experts, and any other stakeholder who is involved in the project, what exactly is expected of them. And why is this? Because let's be honest, we are not given one project in our professional career and execute only that one project. We are doing our job. We probably have multiple projects we're working on, and there is a lot going on. And if you're not standard in your approach as a project manager, and even more importantly as an organization, you will have projects that are going to get derailed very quickly, that have a different way of doing and different outcomes and outputs. And you don't want that, because a lack of standardization confuses everybody. If you have team members who are working on multiple projects and you have different ways of doing them, even if you're the same project manager, like, it's really, really important. You need to be more efficient. You want to help people be able to focus on what they really need to focus on and not be chasing down stuff or making assumptions, which is actually just going to create more work for you. So lack of standardization is a huge problem. And so get really clear with that. Set out your expectation. Set out, here's exactly how I run projects. And so if you're on my project, this is exactly how I do it on all of my projects, not just this one, but this is my new way of working. And better yet, if you're a manager or your organization, everyone should be following the same process. I promise you, it's going to make your life so much easier and you're going to have a better output and higher rate of project success. So how do you standardize? Well, don't fret because I have it covered for you. Watch this. For a deep dive into the essentials of running successful projects, I'd love for you to join one of my Slay programs. Slay Project Management is an online course with step-by-step videos, tools, and templates for the full project lifecycle. Or go pro with Slay Pro. Everything in Slay plus weekly group coaching calls with me so you can tackle your real world scenarios and issues to get on the right track. Ready to level up? Check out the details below. For leadership. Okay, I'm not saying that leadership about the project manager. I mean, yes, that's very important. We're talking about more senior level leadership. This is your sponsor, your steering committee, your senior executives. These are the key people who are actually going to remove roadblocks for you when they actually pop up. And if you have poor leadership where you don't have the right support, they're not invested in the project, the outcome, the deliverable, then it's going to be a trial for you. So you can't, in the ideal world, leaders would get this and they would do what they need to do and they would support you perfectly and they would be servant leaders, ensuring that you have everything you need. But sometimes that's not the case because some leaders are very ego-based and it's all about them. So what do you have to do as a project manager? If you have poor leadership, you need to now be proactive by ensuring that you get your leaders to give you good advice and you set that up properly by ensuring that you bring them along the journey. You start off even before you kick off your project by sitting with your senior executives, by sitting with your sponsor and your steering committee and getting everything approved. Like, here's where I'm going, this is what I need from you, etc. And set up regular touch points. That's going to be really important because we all know that the tone from the top dictates the energy happening in the organization. And so if the tone at the top is poor, then that's going to impact you and your project and you're going to struggle. So take control of it. Change the tone by getting everyone on the same page, which is just going to trickle down to your team members, your subject matter experts, seeing that you have the right support. Unorganized project documentation. Okay, love-hate relationship with project documents. All right, does anybody really like overseeing project documents? No, it's the necessary evil of project management. However, I can let you know if you have solid project documentation, it is going to help you in times of necessity, in times when things are happening that you don't have control over, that you have the ability to go to a document and pull out the right information in a very short period of time, ideally in a matter of seconds, to bring everyone back on track. Because if you don't have things in place with your documentation and something pops up and you can't course correct people by saying, hey, do you remember our charter? Do you remember what we all agreed to and we signed off with? Do you remember the priority matrix? And this is what we said. Scope is our constraint, so no, we can't change that. And if we do, then you need to give me more budget because that's what we were going to be having flexibility with. All of that becomes really critical, and the only way you can be successful is having really organized documentation, because it's going to help you, it's going to help your team members, it's going to help those who are supporting you, like your steering committee. Now, the real cool thing is you're going to have that all covered in Slay Project Management. So if you do check it out, all of this is laid out for you. So don't just stop with these reasons why projects fail that I just shared with you. Don't forget, grab underneath this video, there's a link so that you can get this download, which is going to give you even more information. Watch this video next. It's all about crushing project management challenges. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up. Consider joining this community by subscribing. And if you have any comments, we'd love to hear from you. See you at the next video.